Brett, let's get up to speed. In a recent automotive news article, dealers described the fluctuations they've experienced in customer traffic this year, an increase in traffic leading up to the tariff deadline, and then a subsequent end to that pre tariff boom in demand. Getting that foot traffic is a priority for dealers, and they're continuing to look for ways that make that initial connection easier for customers. Why is call connection the number one driver for customer experience and also revenue?
Oh, good question, Emma. Well, listen, it's the number one driver for customer experience and revenue because there are so many trickle down impacts from a bad connection rate. I'll start with customer experience because it ties into revenue. Every dealership should be focused on the customer experience because it impacts whether or not you realize the lifetime value of a customer, right? All it takes is one bad phone experience to lose a customer, whether you're in fixed ops or variable ops, doesn't matter. And those two departments obviously feed into each other. So there's a couple things to know. First off, the average call connection rate, and you're going to hear me talk about call connection. I'm talking about a customer getting ear to ear with someone who could actually help them or answer their questions, not just an answer rate. Okay. The average for that is 64.6% in automotive. So roughly 1 in 3 customers aren't connecting when they call into your store. And that should frustrate the hell out of us as an industry, right? 2, the average hold time in a dealership is 3 minutes and 4 seconds. 3 minutes and 4 seconds. Now, most of those customers end up hanging up. But the ones that push through don't enter that conversation with a positive attitude toward doing business with your dealership. So the easiest way for you to set yourself apart from other dealerships is focusing on those two areas. Reduce your hold times and serve up a better customer phone experience. Now, how does that tie into revenue? Besides the obvious, which is customer retention, connection is the top end of your funnel, right? The more calls that we're connecting, the more at-bats we're getting in sales and in service. So without increasing your net conversion rates on these calls, if you just focus on connection, you'll see more opportunities in both departments. That is why connection is so important.
All right. Well, let's get into what kind of an undertaking this is to make these kinds of changes. What's one change dealers can make this week without adding headcount that most reliably boosts call connection?
Good call out because the cop out answer is obviously to add headcount. I'll give you the main one and I'll give you a bonus. Now, the main way is a number of ways that you can do it, right? And it kind of takes you diagnosing at your store, what's my main problem? Now, part of it could be the fundamentals, the blocking and tackling, right? And that boils down to how you're answering the phone, right? Are people greeting customers with, hi, this is Brett with ABC dealership. How can I help you? And figuring out why they're calling in. And sometimes it's how they're transferring the phone call, right? You need to make sure that someone is on that other end to receive that call before you transfer the customer. That's a mistake I see a lot of dealerships make. All right. Now, another component that factors into kind of fixing this is focusing on when we're staffed. Mondays through Wednesdays, 9 to 11, those are the busiest call times. That's when every dealership is getting the most call volume. But if you look at the hour when they have the lowest connection rates, and this shouldn't come as a shock, it's from noon to 1 p.m. It's when people are taking lunch. That is a huge problem in automotive. Now, the phones don't slow down, but we're significantly understaffed during those lunch hours. So figuring out a way to make sure that we have people in seats answering phones during those hours, that's an easy fix. The last piece there, I would say, in terms of diagnosing the issue, is focusing on how your calls are routing in and focusing on whether or not you guys have fallbacks in place when the phones aren't getting answered, right? So what I mean by routing is making sure that people are ringing to the correct department and getting a hold of the person they need to get a hold of quickly. And in the event that person's not at their desk, having a fallback where after 3-4 rings, it rings to someone that we know is going to pick up the phone. Because the worst thing we could do is just send someone into voicemail or leave them on hold. Now, the bonus way, okay, and this is not an actual fix, this is more of a Band-Aid, is making sure that you have a system in place for customer callbacks. And the two areas to focus on are customers who hung up on hold and customers who hit voicemail and didn't leave a message. Those are the two areas that every dealership needs to attack. And it's also the easiest way for you to separate yourself and differentiate yourself from the dealerships in your area.
This is great advice, Brett. And I really appreciate you giving us these tips that dealers can, get started on right away. You are such an expert in this area. Thank you for talking to us today on Up to Speed.
Thanks for having me, Emma.